I know the power's out and the internet's down and we're on 3G and I've got no idea whether this is working. So I better go and get off the phone and go to drinks. Hi, everyone. I hope you're here. Hang on, there's a bit of light. Hello. We've got candles. We've got a computer. Who knows what's going on? But we have a power outage here at Moorooduc, and if you can hear me and if you can see me, please sign on to live chat and say hello. We had to do a new link again because when the power went out, the old link stopped working. So it's very exciting here at Muradak. I feel like it's Halloween and I really need a glass of wine. So oh, Kate, hi. Hi, Claire. Hi, Kate. Let's hope the power comes on sometime soon. But anyway, it's very exciting. I hope wherever you are. Hi, Michael. Hi, everyone. So yeah, I'm really hoping that where you are, you're safe and dry and inside and have a glass of wine. And yeah, the power's been off here for about half an hour now and it's been very exciting. So luckily I remembered to charge my computer earlier today. Candlelit tasting, I know. Can you see my candles? Aren't they beautiful? It's rather lovely here. So yeah. Who else? Blackout in Albert Park. Yeah, I know. And I was going to run back to Mount Eliza, and then I thought, well, there might not be any power there either. And at least I've got my, I've got Jill and Richard lighting candles madly and trying to get things sorted. So very exciting. Hi, Kay. Hi, Shell. Hi, Aravan. And Katie Sana. Hi. I think that's a you're a newbie, aren't you? Have we had you on before, Katie? It's lovely to see you. Claire. I know, it's a great atmosphere for a wonderful Chardonnay. So let's have a drink because I need one right now. I haven't even had time to do my hair. So if the lights do come on, please don't be frightened. I'm not looking my normal glamorous self, but I'm sure you'll be able to cope with that. So tonight we're tasting the Moorooduc Mcintyre Chardonnay 2011. We've got a bottle of wine. I've got a Pinot glass here, if you can see that. This is quite moody, isn't it? A Pinot glass. And I'm going to open the bottle and put some glass in my... Hi, Nina. It's very good it's not Google. Okay, here we go. Oh, Kati, lovely to see you. Jeff Quirk, hi, nice to see you too. So wine in glass, that could be tricky in the dark, but I think I can manage it because I am a professional. Here we go. There we go. Beautiful. Hi, Craig, how you going? Have you got power there? We don't have any power here. Hi, David, nice to see you. I hope that everyone who was waiting for deliveries today got them. Hi, Angela. Yeah, here's cheers to us. With or without power, we've still got wine to drink. It's a little smoky in here as well because when the storm came through, it kind of pushed all the fire back, the smoke back down the chimney. So we also lost our lovely raging fire behind us. But it adds to the ambience and also most of the smoke has gone. Oh, Rob says that the power's come on in Toorong, so it probably should come back on here soon, hopefully, unless it's very local. Cool. Excellent. Ben and Danielle, lovely to see you. Very good. Thank you. Send that power down. Okay. I can hear movement. I've got dogs behind me. I've got people watching on. So anyway, while we... Oh, the power's come on. Fantastic. Excellent work. Well, cheers, everyone. Nice to see you. Oh, what a relief. Well, it's not quite as flattering. I think the candlelight was a little more flattering for me tonight. But anyway, thanks for your help, Mum and Dad. That's very cool. I know. Hi, Anne. How are you going? That's true. Yes, Ben, thank you for sharing the power with us. It's wonderful. I'm not sure how the connection's going to go because I'm running off my data on my phone, but it's gone back to 4G from 3G, so hopefully everything will be clear. Anyway, back to the wine. Chardonnay, 2011, from the Mcintyre Vineyard. So this is a wine that really had a really hard time getting traction when it was first made. And it's a terribly sad thing because the Mcintyre Vineyard, as you know, is our family vineyard. The top wines that we make at Moorooduc Estate are the Mcintyre Vineyard Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. They come from our best vines. And for the Chardonnay, those best vines also happen to be our oldest vines. So those Chardonnay vines were planted back in 1983. And they're about 6 to 8 years older than the next planting of Chardonnay that we did after that. And we just find that the quality of the fruit from that older vineyard is really special. And 2011, just cast your minds back to 2011. It was a sort of a confluence of a couple of years worth of events. We'd had a long drought that culminated in 2009 with the bushfires and all sorts of horribleness in summer. Some really hot events over summer that did damage to the vineyards. And then in 2010, the drought broke and rain fell exactly when and where we wanted it to. So 2010 was a really lovely vintage. 2011 was the result of, after the drought broke and the rain started, it never stopped. And it rained and rained and rained and rained and rained. It felt like it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. And we felt at one stage that we were going to have to build an ark for the poodles and the cats and the chooks and the peacock. But what that meant for us was that in springtime, when the vines were starting to come back to life, it was still very, very wet underfoot. The ground was completely saturated and the water level was at the top of the level of the soil. So the earth was completely saturated. Vines hate having wet feet. So the vines were not happy to start off with. And there was a lot of disease pressure from very, very early on. A lot of people saw mildews and rots in the vines very early in the season, earlier than they're supposed to possibly happen, and it was quite a challenging year. Now, for us at Moorooduc Estate, particularly in the Mcintyre Vineyard, we had a couple of things on our side. This site is north facing, and it's on a nice slope, and the soil is incredibly. Hi Barry, lovely to see you. You missed all the excitement. We didn't have any power, and I was tasting by candlelight. Anyway, welcome. You may not have had any power either, Barry. Anyway, welcome. Glad you made it. So we have a nice slope, and we have very sandy soil here. So a lot of the moisture drained away here much more quickly than it did in other parts of the peninsula that have more heavy clay in their soil, maybe don't have as good drainage in the vineyard. And we were able to get into the vineyard to do work with a few preventative sprays earlier than a lot of people did. And that really meant that we were able to grow some very nice fruit. What it also meant was that we could get into the vineyard with people on feet and do a lot of work. Hi, Sarah. Nice to see you. Sarah the Flower Press has a 2017 Moorooduc Estate Chardonnay. That will be delicious as well, and kind of on theme. So yeah, we got in and we spent a lot of money in the vineyard that year, doing a lot of handwork, defoliating, pulling leaves off, opening up the canopy so that we had less disease pressure, so the canopy could dry out better, so that the vines could actually have a chance of growing and ripening fruit. And we had this sort of very slow, cool, damp summer. And even when it was warm, it was very humid and overcast, and we didn't get very much sunshine at all in 2017. Yes, Rob, 2011, 2012 was a monster La Nina and Australia's wettest 2-year period. So yeah, oh my God. So much rain fell on the Australian continent, the global sea level dropped by 5 millimetres. That's awesome. Thank you, Rob. That's why you're here. Zach and Jack. Hi, how you going, Jack and Zach and Hannah? Excellent to see you. Anyway, long story short, the grapes that grew in 2011 really struggled to ripen. Vintage was about a month later than it usually is. In normal years, we're really looking at flavour development compared to ripeness, and we worry that the fruit's going to get too ripe sometimes in a warmer year before the flavour development has happened appropriately, and that we're going to lose acid and we're going to get too much sugar, and then the wines will be too alcoholic. In 2011, it was the opposite. We're waiting and waiting for the grapes to get ripe enough for the acid to fall away a little bit, for the flavour to evolve, and for the sugar levels to get up a little bit. It's not that we're looking for higher alcohol wines. In fact, it's quite lovely that these wines are quite low in alcohol. This wine from the Duck is 12.5, which is about half to a whole percentage lower than we'd usually see in wine from this vineyard. But we had this beautiful natural acidity. And so the wines actually, hello, Michael Woodward, Candlelight and iPhone hotspot here in Rosanna. Excellent. Yeah, I know. It's quite moody, isn't it? I might get someone to turn the lights off again. It's sort of nice. No, it's good to be able to see you. Good to be able to see the colour of the wine as well. So a lot of wine writers who'd been following the season kind of wrote articles before vintage even happened and said, don't even bother to try the 2011s. Nobody who's a serious winemaker should be trying to make wine in 2011. It should just be a complete write-off because it's a disaster, which is very helpful and also was wrong. I think that there were some people who shouldn't have made wine who did, and there were other people who didn't make wine, and that was the right decision because they either had too much disease in the vineyard. Hi, Jeremy, how you going? But what we saw here was small quantities of very high quality Chardonnay fruit with a different shape and different numbers, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but still really quite intriguing, and we thought that we could probably make some pretty delicious wine out of it, and we did. Romantic scare. Yeah, very scary, Barry. It's been so gusty. And I've got to say, we've got a peacock who you guys, some of you have met. He's out there and he was very upset about the whole thing. And I think that the chooks and the outdoor cats probably would have been rather unhappy as well. So I'm glad that it's settled down a little bit. Pete, I think, said soft shell crab sushi burger. Thanks, Pete. That sounds lovely. Can you bring me one from Melbourne? The thing that I love about this wine, when it was young, it was really, really tight, really, really fine. There wasn't a lot of development of flavour, and it sort of backed up what people were saying that, oh, it's not going to be as good as the other vintages. But people forget that a lot of really high quality cool climate Chardonnay is quite closed and quite tight when they're young. This wine, when I was talking about the numbers being quite different and the shape of the wine, of the juice being quite different, that we had a lot of lemon citrus fruit, a little bit of white stone fruit, and much higher malic acid levels in the wine compared to a normal year. So we had to make important decisions about how much of the wine we would let go through malolactic fermentation, because in a normal year at Moorooduc, we have low malic acid levels. We let it all go through because it doesn't change the shape or the acid levels of the wine very much. It just gives us a little bit of creaminess. But if we would let all of this wine go through a malolactic fermentation, it would have possibly been too broad and we would have lost too much acidity and the wine could have been flabby. And it's not. It's a lovely, crisp, fresh, fine wine, even 9 years on. So 2011, it's a 9-year-old wine and it's still looking fairly young and fresh, and it's just starting, I think, to come out of its shell in a way. Even if it is a soft shell, Peter. I've got to say as well, just now that the lights have come on, Madam over there on the sofa is 5 today, so it's Polly's birthday today. Happy birthday, Polly. Yeah, she's very impressed. She had a nice run before the rain came, so that's good. Oh, Shell, salt and pepper squid gut, yum. How delicious. I know the blackout kind of mucks everything up, doesn't it? But it means that you can concentrate just on the wine and then the food will come eventually. Salt and pepper squid, such a good match to this sort of wine, I think. Those lovely flavours, a little bit of spice, a little bit of tanginess from the salt, that lovely fresh calamari character. So when we released this wine, it was really tight, lots of acid, not a lot of fruit expression, and you would not believe how many people said, no, we're not going to even bother tasting it, because we read in this magazine or that newspaper article that 2011's all crap. And I want salt and pepper squid too, Jeremy. I think it's very mean of all these people having delicious food that I've encouraged you to have. Renee, chorizo and potato jam. Oh, yum. How delicious. Yeah, so a lot of people wouldn't even taste the wine, and people would people who came to cellar door, and we could kind of go, look, just taste the wine. If you don't like it, then that's okay, but you're here and the wine's here, so taste it. So we managed to kind of, convert a few people on a one-on-one situation, but our distributors had huge problems with restaurants and with retailers, because even when they tasted the wine, went, yeah, the wine's good, but everybody knows that 2011 is a terrible vintage, and so we can't sell it. Our customers think we're trying to dupe them. They think that you're trying to dupe us, and it's all just a big, horrible mess. And we didn't make a huge amount of this wine, and we thought this wine was really special and probably needed a little bit of time in the cellar. So we just gave up on selling it. We just popped it away, and we thought, you know what? We'll put it away for a rainy day. And today is perfect for it. So it's also because the acid's different and the fruit profile is quite different from any of the previous wines that we've made from this vineyard, or any wines that we've made subsequently after 2011. We really didn't know how it was going to age. We had a hunch it would age well, but we didn't know. And we looked at it. Jeremy and Richard and I looked at it about 4 or 5 years ago, and we thought it was falling off the edge of the cliff. And we're like, oh no, this wine actually doesn't have the longevity that we thought it was going to have. But we thought, well, let's hope it's just going through a bit of a dumb phase. And it was, because it's come out the other side, and I think it's looking better than ever. I agree, Michael. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're enjoying it. It was a hard wine to love on release. It was not very cuddly on release, and I think that it's still quite linear. It's still elegant, but it's just the edges have kind of softened, and it's smoothed out, and it's got some lovely secondary and tertiary characters now, which is really great. And it's such a beautiful food wine. I'm still smelling quite a lot of the smoke from the fire, so I'm using that. I'm not making excuses, but I'm struggling to really get the most out of this wine. I know this wine really well, though, because I just come back to it to check it every now and again. I think it's in a really, really happy places. Jeremy, absolutely. And the 2011 wine I think that Jeremy's talking about is not actually this Chardonnay. This Chardonnay is, for me, one of my favourites of our Chardonnays. I think it's got real elegance, and it's got a very lovely line to it. But we also made a tiny bit of Robinson Pinot Noir in 2011, and the wisdom was, if any grape variety was going to work in 2011, it was going to be Chardonnay, because it can cope with it being cooler. And there were a few people have come around to the 2011 Chardonnays being good over time. And when we say to people, oh, well, you should try the 2011 Pinots that we made, people laugh and go, oh, now you're just taking it a bit too far. But the 2011 Robinson Pinot that we made in tiny quantities and have tiny quantities left of, tinier quantities left of, we did sell a bit of that, because it's so elegant, and it's very pale in colour, but it's got beautiful balance, and it's just delightful. So what's everybody else saying? Amanda, I agree. I think the glass shape does make a big difference to the wine, and I'd be really interested to know how. I haven't brought out my Chardonnay glass because we were running around trying to work out how we're going to do this without power. but I really like it. I really like it in this shaped glass because it kind of brings it all to the fore. But in a Chardonnay glass, I would imagine it would keep it a little bit tighter and a little bit finer still, which is lovely. And it's always fun to play around with different glass shapes with wines like this because it's a complex wine and it is a wine that changes a lot, both with time and in the glass. Craig drank it on Tuesday. Well, fair enough too, and it does open up really slowly. So do drink the rest of this bottle slowly over the evening with your beautiful food and with whoever it is that you're drinking it with, because it is a wine that does reward a bit of time and contemplation. Absolutely. So yeah, Aravan. Oh, Maha at home, yum. See, I was complaining about the fact that we don't get Melbourne restaurants delivering down here on the Mornington Peninsula, and then I remembered that there are a few, and we have some lovely restaurants here on the Mornington Peninsula as well that do take away food during these difficult times. And I was reminded that I was being a little bit of a spoilt brat by friends of ours who live in Pakenham Upper who might be watching tonight. Hello, Michael and Jenny, if you've tuned in. I know that you don't have a live chat, but if you're there, lovely to see you. And I was reminded by them that if you're in Pakenham Upper, there's really nothing restaurant-wise coming out your way. So lockdown is a little bit more difficult. And I'm sure those of you who are not having access to things like Maha at home are finding cooking a bit less fun sometimes. But I'm very impressed with all of the food and wine matches that you guys had. Did anyone get Gruyere, or did you think I was joking? Because in fact, I know that we've done Gruyere to death, as we have done focaccia to death. Thank you, Angela, for pointing that out last week. But I think focaccia is a lovely bread to go if it's fresh. Focaccia is lovely bread to go with wine because it's got that flavour and that saltiness and the olive oil, and it works really well with these flavours. And Gruyere is traditionally matched to aged Chardonnay, and good quality aged Gruyere are a match made in heaven. And if you speak to people in Burgundy and in the Savoie, where Gruyere is made and also Chardonnay is made, they are very passionate about matching those wines together. And I think that an aged Chardonnay like this, with those lovely kind of slightly madderized aromatics, such as those kind of slightly, it's not quite oxidized, it's in the same family, but it's the sort of characters that you get in Madeira or sherry. It's kind of a little bit of lift, a little bit of kind of bruised apple in there, those kind of things. Works really, really well with Gruyere. And Gruyere is a fantastic cheese wine. It's a fantastic white wine cheese. Yes, that didn't make sense. But the classic match is aged Chardonnay and aged Gruyere. So particularly if you've got that really good Gruyere that's got the little crunchy bits of salt through it, very delicious, very good with Chardonnay. If you haven't tried it, do, but it looks like you guys are all over it. So Jeremy's pointing out that not all the Pinots from 2011 worked well, but the Robinson worked beautifully because it had bright flavour that developed early, the low sugars and low alcohol. It's got a pale colour, but it's got a freshness and a brightness and a really lovely balance to it in its elegance, just like this Chardonnay. Comté also works really well with this, Ben. Absolutely. So, well, I think I've run out of puff. I do think sometimes that these older wines sort of speak for themselves a little bit. This Chardonnay vineyard of ours is very special to us. We're renovating it little bit by little bit because vines don't live forever, and it's important to have old vines in the ground. And it's hi Paul, lovely to see you. I'm glad you've got chat working. I'm glad. And there are a lot of people who say that to me, not a huge white drinker, not really loving Chardonnay still. But when you get a good one, it's still pretty delicious. And I think that Chardonnay for me will always be a passion. And I think that this is an amazing place to grow and make Chardonnay because we get this beautiful balance of acid and flavour and enough sugar to get the right amount of alcohol, not too much. But there's just the layers of flavour come from out there in the vineyard, from those old vines who have got their roots deep, deep down in the soil, finding groundwater. In 2011, that wasn't hard because all the ground was full of water. But in normal years and in dry years, those Chardonnay vines manage to look after themselves really, really well without any irrigation, which is amazing. And I think the fact that they are such resilient old vines that are doing such a great job of producing high quality fruit is reflected in this wine that came from a really difficult year, that with some extra care from the caretakers, us, those vines were able to still produce really good fruit and give us fruit that could produce really beautiful wine. And I think that's special, and that's awesome. Okay, yeah, the nose is quite restrained. It will evolve over time. And yes, David Marchi, Grossi Florentino are delivering. They're delivering down to the peninsula every now and again, and we have and hope to continue to take advantage of that. No, we're not doing too badly, and we're eating and drinking quite well. Not fading away here at Moorooduc at all. Managing to find food that works well with the wine. So yeah, it is definitely changing in the glass. And Kate, I know it's been a long week. I can understand drinking it fairly rapidly. Just keep it swirling, keeping it evolving in the glass, bit of air in there. Michael, the oak in this wine, now I'm going to comment on it, and Jeremy might jump in and tell me that I've got it completely wrong, but in 2011, I think this wine would have had about 20 to 25% new oak. The way we make Chardonnay is that we ferment it in oak, but mostly old oak, and then we leave it in the oak for 8 months. And normally we'll leave it unsulfured for those 8 months so that it can go through a malolactic fermentation. But as I discussed earlier, this wine had very high levels of malic acid, and if we let it all convert to lactic acid, then we might have lost some of that brightness and that crunchiness in the wine. So some of the barrels got sulfured up early to stop it from going through malo, and some of the barrels were allowed to go through malo in their own time. So that's the big difference in the winemaking for this wine. But apart from that, it's still wild yeast, still about 25% new oak. And it's still that beautiful fruit from that beautiful vineyard. So yeah. Jeff's got his King George whiting going. I think that will be very lovely with this wine as well. Amanda, that's a very, Amanda's asking what the best best vintage for this wine is. And I think for me, at the moment, I love the 2012 McIntyre Chardonnay. I think the 2008 was amazing. I really like this wine. I've always liked this wine. And I think the fact that it was a bit of an ugly duckling when it first was bottled and brought out, and it's turned into a swan now, makes me love it even more. It's a bit less cuddly than some of our other wines from less difficult years, but I really love the 2011. But it's not a classic McIntyre Chardonnay like the 8 and the 12 were. I think the 16 looked pretty good. And in fact, I really love looking at these wines as a vertical, because even though they have different characteristics depending on the year, they're all pretty delicious. Because if they weren't up to that deliciousness standard, we wouldn't have made them as a McIntyre Chardonnay. We can always just declassify them to, I'm going to take my jumper off. It's got really warm in here. All of a sudden the fire working again. Oh, excuse me. Whew, that's better. The McIntyre Chardonnay always has a deliciousness that has a character that is very, very distinctive. This is probably the finest and most elegant of them all, but it's still got some of that savouriness, some of those layers that we always expect to see there. Thanks, Michael. It is very balanced. It has good length, it has good intensity and very good complexity, even though it's quite fine. Paul asked how long could we cellar a Chardonnay like this? To be honest with you, Paul, as I said to you before, we thought this wine was falling off the cliff a few years ago, and it's come back and it looks fresher and brighter than it did then. And so I'm really not sure. I think that we've probably still got a good, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years, who knows? I think the best thing to do with the wine like this when you're not sure is to buy a 6-pack or buy a dozen and drink it slowly over time and see how it evolves. Jeremy, I was going to say, I did get distracted. I think that the 2017's beautiful. And we were quite happy with 2020, weren't we? That's a little way off still, but exciting times. Matt, I think Embla does a good Mornington Peninsula delivery as well. Yeah, we haven't used them yet, but we have got the occasional dinner box from Tedesca, which is pretty special. They sell out pretty quickly, and our good friends at Volpino are doing a great job of producing take-home food. And for those of you who are Mornington Peninsula based, particularly Mount Eliza based, I have wonderful news that Dashi is back. They closed down for a while, and we were very sad, and we were hoping that they'd open up again. And they're doing pick up takeaway food again as of today, I think, yesterday or today. Anyway, they're back. So if you like a bit of Japanese fusion, Dashi, if you haven't tried them and if you can get to them within your 5 kilometres, or you've got a friend who can deliver it to you, then give Dashi a go as well. Fantastic. Yeah, Matt. 6 wines, 6 bottles of the same wine so that you can kind of get to know it over time is, I think, pretty special. And I agree, Jeremy, the brilliance of Chardonnay down here on the peninsula is that it has the fruit has such beautiful balance that you don't need to really do much to it to make it into good wine. You just need to know when the right time to pick it is, because if you pick it too early, I think it can be a little bit too herbaceous and not have enough varietal flavour and character. It won't have the texture that I like to see in Chardonnay. If you pick it too late, it can get too ripe and too pineapple-y and a bit overwhelming. So it's really about understanding how your vineyard's working and knowing when it's ripe, not underripe, not overripe, but just the right amount of ripe to pick it and make it. And fabulous. So on that, I think after all the excitement tonight, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to say cheers to you guys. Is it Friday, Jeff? No, it's not Friday. I think it's still Thursday, but who would know? Rob, what are the key indicators in that assessment? Oh, picking right at the right time. Well, I think it's about understanding the flavour profile and understanding what you're looking for. Jeremy and Richard and I and Hugh taste the fruit. We taste the flavours of the fruit, but we also analyse the acid and the sugar content, and it's all about sort of experience and understanding how it all comes together. Grape juice is really sweet before it gets made into wine, so you have to get past the sugar. Once you get past the sugar, it's all good. Next week, before people run away, next week, and I'm going to send you an email about it on Monday, so don't worry if you don't get this now, but next week we're doing Devil Bend Creek Pinot Noir, which, yes, I know we've done it before, but I have a very specific food and wine exercise for us to do, food and wine matching, and I think it'll be really fun. So what I'm going to get you to do is get some specific food types in. It's going to be less of the sort of you can do the gourmet spread, absolutely. But before you start eating your delicious whatever you get in next week, we're going to do a little experiment. There's an old wine buying adage I think it's from the UK, but they say, buy on apples, sell on cheese. So I'm going to get you to get an apple and slice it up, and I'm going to get you to get a couple of different cheeses, and we might get a couple of other things to throw into the mix, but we're going to see how the food that you're eating and the characters of that food affect the flavour of the wine, and I'm going to explain what they mean by buy on apples, sell on cheese. So it's going to be really fun. David, you'll have to buy more than 6 then if you want to hang on to them for 6 years. It's just getting the maths right, I think. So yeah, food and wine matching next week with that delicious Devil Bean Creek Pinot that we've had before, but it'll be sort of a little bit more of a structured exercise. Hopefully we'll have power. Hopefully everything will be working. I'm going to go and sit in a corner quietly now and get over the excitement of this evening. It's been lovely seeing you all. Angela, Thursday is now my Friday. That's lovely. It's the university students' Friday night, Thursday night. So when you know that Friday doesn't matter too much. maybe now that we're all grown-ups, then that isn't quite the case. But anyway, everyone, lovely to see you. Thank you so much. And Rob, I hope you saw what Jeremy wrote about the key indications of the assessment: flavour, acid, flavour, then sugar in that order. Perfect. Looking forward to seeing you all again next week at 6 o'clock. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone. Shell, lovely to see you. Glad we still made it in the dark. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Zach and Jack. I'm going to leave you to your wine now. Thanks, everyone. Bye.